Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Scene Live. So, this is a space for entrepreneurs who are building something meaningful and want a business that supports their life, not just their income. I'm Kim Speed, and I'm a brand clarity coach and entrepreneur, and I work with experienced professionals who own service based businesses but are struggling with consistent clients. On this show, we share real stories of what actually worked, what didn't, the lessons that you can only learn by doing the work. My goal is to help you get clearer, feel more confident, being visible, and build a business that's more stable, aligned, and sustainable. And I am so glad that you're here joining us today because my guest today is somebody that I'm really excited to have a chat with. Today's guest is Russ Hedge, and he truly lives what he teaches. Russ is an inspirational speaker, international best-selling author, live streamer, marketing coach, business consultant, and what many people call a master connector. He's spent over 30 years in sales and marketing, recognized as a top performer across multiple industries, not just for results, but for how he builds relationships. He's known as an inspiration specialist because he genuinely lights people up. He believes encouragement is a business strategy. Russ is also a stage 4 cancer survivor who continues to fight and is in the process of continuing that fight while he helps other people navigate life's hardest seasons with faith, resilience, and intentional choice. His latest book, Life Happens and Then You Choose, is about exactly that. While we can't control everything life throws at us, we can choose how we respond. Russ, I am so glad you're here today. Thank you so much for coming.
I am so glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me, Kim. This is exciting.
This is wonderful. And I, as I said to you just before we got on, I had gotten your book and I was learning so much more about you. We've had a few opportunities to speak, but your book was really enlightening. But I would love you to, as I always like to start here, you've had a long career in sales and marketing. Take us back to how your journey from employee or to becoming an entrepreneur actually unfolded.
Well, very good question. Very good. Well, I go all the way back to Oregon State when I met my beautiful wife and got motivated to graduate from college and, decided I would tap into what I was good at, and that was speaking. So I got a speech communication degree from Oregon State. I didn't really decide what I was. I started as a music major actually when I started there, but I ended up as a communications major and I graduated, married my beautiful wife, and dove into what I thought was going to be a long public relation and advertising career. And I
Yeah.
went to work for one of the largest PR advertising firms in Oregon, but not exactly doing what I wanted to do. So I interned there. I knew everybody, and they let me do a little bit of public relations writing, but my real job was in the mail room. And so I started off actually one of my favorite jobs ever because it was very low key, very low stress, and I loved it. So move forward. I got promoted to office manager, made a little bit more money, big company. It was a lot of fun, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And then I got recruited by one of my vendors because, of course, I did everything for this huge office. So one of my vendors recruited me as a sales representative. And that's really more up the lines of what I love to do. All through my growing up, my dad was in sales, loved it. So there you went. And that's where the sales career started. Then
Right.
moved through to just a couple corporations and one small business and then another large corporation. And then COVID hit. And
Ugh,
so what had
yes.
happened right before COVID, I chose to start a little side hustle because of the encouragement of my friend D. Scott Smith, We were having coffee one day. He encouraged me. He goes, "Hey, you really need to do some marketing coaching. And what about speaking? Because you're already doing that. You're coaching your team, you're speaking." He said, "And then
Yeah.
also, what about writing a book? Hey, what about podcasting?" I'm like, "Whoa, hang on." So anyway, he got me started in the thought process, and I got my website set up. But I was working 12 hours a day, not having time to do my business. Told my wife, I'd really like to move this direction. I felt like God was moving this way. And so I thought, this is
Right.
what I'm going to do. But I didn't have time for it. All of a sudden, whammo, the world shuts down. And my beautiful wife said to me, "Honey, I think that this is your time. If you really feel like God is moving you to be an entrepreneur and have your own business, now is your time, because the world has shut down and you have time to plan." And so that's how it all started.
That's amazing. And I think it's really interesting that you went to school to learn, speaking techniques and PR for, for other people. But no wonder, because you're such a natural at it. And no wonder you became a great salesperson, because you could speak and I can just tell that when I talk to you and when I see you in rooms, you light up, and people light up when they see you. So you're known as a master connector. What what does that actually mean in practice? What do most people misunderstand about um, what the what this means in say networking?
Sure. Well, let me first start with, I love people. And that's where the desire for me to connect comes from, right? Kim, you
Yeah.
and I just hit it off right off the bat. You're such an amazing person. And so, I just love to be around other people. I love to connect with them. And then through that process, build community. I've done it since I was a little guy. I mean, I just had lots of friends. I always did
It's
stuff.
just
I had lots of
natural to
friends. I
you.
was Yeah, it's very active. And so that was who I was. And I was one of those crazy kids when I was young that did everything. So I had kids in the band and the choir. I played on the football team and the basketball team. I played 3 sports, all of that. I did show performance, singing and dancing and doing all that stuff, and drama. And so I would just really love to be around people all the time. So as I got into business, man, going out and meeting new clients and doing things was just fun to me. I was one of those weird guys that liked what they called cold calling, right? But I have actually since, Kim, done a I've done a seminar on how to turn cold calling into making friends, because everybody has the wrong way to look at that. You really need to go out and you need to make friends, connect with people, and build community, because then things start to happen. So I learned this process through all that I was doing, and then I got involved with great networking of groups and events, and I learned the real benefit of that, getting around lots of people. I developed what I call the hashtag Russ selfie, where I would take a selfie and people are diving in and laughing and having fun. And people I meet for the first time at these events, the next time I see them, give me a big hug like I am their best friend from ever. I mean, they
Yeah.
just like, because you do things that connect you. They see those pictures, they see them with you. It's having fun together, and it just becomes a fun process. So I learned tricks like that. And I don't mean it like in a trick weird way. I mean it just like those are like tips and things that I could do
Those
to help
icebreakers.
accelerate. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's how and so I moved then from networking in person into networking online, of course, when COVID hit. And so
Yeah.
I've learned to do that process both in person and online. That's what I do today.
So tell me, when you did go online, what was the biggest challenge? Because like all of a sudden we're told we can't see people. And then the only way, like I can imagine that must have been tough for you being such a people person. So how difficult was it to adapt?
It was so hard. It was so
Yeah.
hard, Kim. I mean, because first off, I thought, what? What? Wait, I can't see people? I mean, really, I'm like, wait a second. So, but really, honestly, I think I really felt like it was really God speaking to me and telling me, just keep your normal schedule. And I said, "Yeah, but how do I do that?" He said, "I have a real good morning routine with things that
Yeah.
involves, how I wake up. There's stories about all this, but how I get up in the morning, how I talk to myself, how I prepare for the day. I do devotions, and I read my Bible, and I journal, and I exercise, and I do all this. And I really felt like God was saying, just keep doing that. Just do it every morning. I said, great. Okay. Then I go to this networking meeting, Lord, and I can't go to it. And he goes, oh yeah, you can. Because what I had learned a month before the world shut down, I learned from my friend D. Scott Smith. I joined an online networking group called the Global Tea Break, and that's a worldwide
Wow.
networking group. And so I learned, he goes, it's on this thing called Zoom. Have you ever heard of that? I don't even know what that is. I have no idea what that is. And so then I learned how to use Zoom. So what I did, I reached out to the people that, whether it's a Chamber of Commerce director or whether it's a networking group, like BNI, whatever I was
Yeah.
in. And I said, hey, let me help you. If you don't know how, let me help you learn how to get Zoom going and keep the meetings going while we are on our 2-week break, which we all thought, right? COVID hit,
Yeah.
we got 2 weeks off, and then we're going to go.
Just a couple weeks.
Yeah. And everybody at first is like, we'll just wait till we get back. And then 3 weeks later, they're like, oh, can you show me how to do that? So I
Yeah.
started helping people. And so, but in the short run, even before I got them going with meetings, I knew how to use Zoom. So I started reaching out to people on Zoom. So then I had people coming on my screen and I could actually talk to them. And that really helped. And then, of course, my beautiful wife gets plenty of hugs from me every day, and I love yous, but I think they were like quadrupled during that time. It
Lucky
was like
her.
yeah. So it was a lot of I needed a lot of people time she had to fill in for when I was gone. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's really how things went.
Well, were you anything it's funny that you got on just before the COVID happened, and I also started working with clients just before all of this and online globally, and I was thinking this is amazing, but it was a little bit tricky for the clients or the people that you wanted to meet with to figure it out. So to me, yeah, having this pandemic happen and everybody going online was just like, oh, this is fantastic. They're all figuring it out. And I didn't love that we couldn't see people and that we had to stay in, but I loved that we got to meet people from around the world.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So, wow.
I was going to say that that was exactly what was really exciting to me too, because not only could I see people and meet new people again, but they were anywhere. They were anywhere, right? And so, I mean, I have made, and Kim, like I'm sure you have, and everybody at this point, I have amazing friends in crazy parts of the world all over the
Yeah.
place because I'm one of those guys that was connecting with like 1,000 people a year. That was my goal. So I was
Yeah.
clicking off 1,000 new people a year. And when I connect, I really want to connect. So as long as they're into it, I want to stay in touch. I don't want to just have
Yeah.
a one and done. I want to be able to talk to them at another time or do whatever. And so it was really a blessing it forced everybody to learn how to do that. And it made our jobs much more flexible.
Yes. Yes. So now you can have a little bit of both.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and that's what I do every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And because of that, you're known as the inspiration specialist, and I love that. So, why do you believe encouragement and positivity are a strategic business advantage rather than just a personality trait?
Who in the world wants to hang around with grumpy people?
Yeah,
I mean, there you go. That's why it's a benefit to your business because people are attracted to positive, upbeat people. They
yeah,
are. And so you see when somebody, and I'm one of these people, you walk into the room, ta-da, and you immediately attract people. You do. You just immediately
yeah,
attract people because people like that attitude. They like the fact that, you are positive and upbeat and all of that. I was blessed by God to be born with that kind of personality. I have a good perspective and a good mindset. And I was blessed with amazing parents, and my
yes,
mama was the happiest person alive. She was so amazing, even through, she went through an Alzheimer's battle, even up to the last, when she couldn't speak anymore, she was still laughing and happy. And in fact, the very, very last memory I could think of her, but the last week or so, I was just holding her hand, before she went to heaven. And you know what? That the last few years with her was amazing, even going through Alzheimer's. But the day before she basically became unresponsive, she let me feed her a couple of yogurts because she hadn't been eating. I fed her a couple of yogurts and she laughed and laughed and laughed. And that was just so I was just blessed with growing up with that. And so that helped
Aw.
me with everything I do. And then I just learned the benefits of good perspective and positivity through all that I do.
And I learned a lot about your family and the great relationships you have, not only with your parents, but your own beautiful family. As you say all the time, I love that you always talk about your beautiful wife, and you have two wonderful children, grown children. But I learned about this in your book. So life happens, and then you choose. Can
Right.
we talk about the book for a few minutes?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I am so blessed to have a beautiful wife of 38 plus years, two adult, wonderful children. My daughter, who's my oldest, is my little princess, and she's my 35-year-old little princess right now. And my
Aw.
son is my little buddy, and he is 32 and married. My daughter's not married yet. I unfortunately have no grandchildren yet because my son and daughter-in-law are too busy with, my son is a professional musician and
Oh,
producer.
wow.
And so he is, yeah, he's writing music, he's performing, and he's producing music. I just found out yesterday, it looks like one of his songs is going to be in a Netflix movie coming up that he wrote. Um,
That's
so
amazing.
so he does a lot of commercials you see on the TV. He wrote the music for. He does a lot of that kind of stuff. So he has turned out to have a really a wonderful career, and he travels a lot for his music.
Yeah,
And
right.
right, and my daughter, who's amazing, is not married, so that's why there's no hope for grandchildren there right now. But she's an amazing worship pastor, and she is an amazing musician as well. But
Oh,
the whole
really?
point there,
A musical
yeah,
family.
very musical. My wife was in music ministry for years. I was a worship pastor for like 30 plus years, on top of my sales career. So very musical. We've done a lot of stuff. So anyway, so the book,
Yes, the
life
book.
happens and then you choose. And you know what? That happens to anybody who's watching right now. Every day of your life. Every
Yeah.
day of your life. Life is happening, and then you choose. So the first book I wrote was called Befuddled, Live the Life You Choose. Don't live your life befuddled and out of sorts. Choose the life you want. And I had some people say to me, I can't choose the life I want. They said, because life is always, just whatever happens to me, I can't choose that. And I said, you're exactly right. I said, life happens and then you choose. And I kept saying that, and that became a mantra. And so after I
Ah,
wrote, I actually wrote like four anthologies in between my first book and then the book that I just produced. And so my good friend and co-host D. Scott Smith said to me, dude, that's your next book, because you say that all the time. So I wrote this book to show people that we all have stuff, we all have situations, we all have struggles, right?
yeah.
And you can make it through, because if you keep a good perspective, then you'll be able to make it through anything that's happening. And I choose to have a godly, positive perspective. I love the quote by Chip Ingram, great author, pastor. He calls it the divine equation. It's C plus P equals E. And what that means is, and this is in my book, by the way,
C
it
C
means
plus, say that one more time. C plus,
C plus P equals
oh, P.
E.
Okay.
So it's your circumstances plus your perspective equals your experience. This is a good example of this, is that's why you can have two people in the same room looking at the exact same thing happen and come out of that room and tell two completely different stories. So you go
Ah,
into you
yes.
go into a room, you watch a video, somebody had a car wreck, and they had a car wreck, and One of them had to go to the hospital. That's the little scene you see, and they come out of the room, and one person says, "Oh my goodness, it was horrific. They had this car wreck and life was almost over and they had to go to the hospital. It was terrible." And the next person comes in and says, "Oh my goodness, you will not believe what a blessing what I just saw. These people got in this car wreck, but they were okay. One of them had to go to the hospital to get checked out, but they were really fine. They were just double checking on them. And man, the other car was good and they could even drive the car away when they were done. So what a blessing that was, right?" So it's all how they looked at the situation. So that perspective changes your experience of life. And who would not rather have a positive
Yeah.
experience of life, right?
Oh, definitely. So you've had to have a few moments like that. Um, going through many things in your life, but most recently you've battled a demon, is what I call it. Tell us a little bit about what's been happening in your life.
Well, so we've all had things. So I don't pretend to
Yeah.
have the corner on stuff happening to people, but I've had some big events in my life. When I was 19, after my freshman year in college, I had a near life ending car accident. They had to cut me out of the car with the jaws of life, fly me life light, shut down an entire highway to get me to the hospital where a team of trauma surgeons were waiting to save my life. And by
That
the
was
grace of
horrific.
God, yeah, and by the grace of God, I lived. And
Yeah.
had I not had a nurse that knew that I could not make it to the hospital in an ambulance right behind me in this accident, she directed everything, got them calling Lifelight, and they said I made it just barely. Had they driven me, I most likely would have not made it. And so
Wow.
that was a blessing. And so then, I got married and went on with life, and I got to where my parents grew older. My dad
Mhm.
had lung cancer and we had to deal with that. And then he had a relapse, and then at the end had dementia, and so he passed away when I moved my parents into senior living. It was a really nice community, independent community where they were at the time. But my dad
Yeah.
didn't make it too long, and he passed away. And then my mama had Alzheimer's. She had already been diagnosed a few years before, but it really started to pick up. Had to move her into a memory care. So spent a
Mm.
couple 2.5 years with her in this memory care, and then the day she passed on my dad's birthday, that
Wow.
I found this wart, we thought, on the bottom of my foot. And let me tell you, by the way, the car accident was July 9th. My dad passed away July 31st. Mama passed away on his birthday, July 18th. And I found what we thought was a wart on my foot just after she passed away, the last part of July. So I wrote an article about skipping July. I thought
Yes.
we just skip that month. Well, let's move past that because all these things seem to happen in July. But yeah, and
Yeah.
so yeah, and then it was only a month later that I got in to my dermatologist, and they biopsied it immediately because it had grown from what looked like a wart to it was about a size of a quarter in black. And so I
Okay.
told my beautiful wife, I think I better go have this checked out because I don't think it's a wart.
Yeah,
And
what is
so
this thing?
yeah. So they immediately rushed me up to OHSU and diagnosed me with stage 2A melanoma, where they planned a big surgery on my foot. And they actually took a lot of my bottom of my foot and had to rebuild it.
Oh,
But
wow. It's
while
so
they did
weird.
that,
You think underneath your foot, like it doesn't, you're always thinking sun, like be careful of the sun.
yeah, well, it's funny because melanoma is not necessarily caused by the sun. I call it cells
Ah,
going wonky, but
okay.
damaged cells become cancer. So there were damaged cells on my foot that became cancer. And when they did the surgery, they did what they call lymph node mapping, mapped and followed my lymph nodes, and they checked and found one in my groin that had a tumor in it. So it had spread to my groin. So I was stage
Already.
3A. And so that's how the whole cancer thing started. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And that was um, right after your mom.
Right after mama passed. And that was, I think it was 22. No, wait a sec. That's not right because I'm trying to think 3.5. What it's 26 now. Oh yeah. It was
It's 2022.
2022. Yep. It was the
Yeah.
summer of 22. And then I went through this whole treatment and I had the surgery. And then the treatment started shutting down my body. I became a type of diabetic. I became other things because it shut down my pancreas and started shutting down other organs. So they stopped that and they did another surgery and they thought they got it all. And in fact, they did, based on the scans and everything, all looked great. No sign of cancer. So I was very happy, praising God. 10 months later, unfortunately, my doctor said, we found something we don't really like. And they took a look at it. And then I was upgraded to stage 4 because it had moved to my lungs and my brain. So it
Wow.
went all the way from the bottom of my foot all the way to my brain. And so, yes, but the good news
Wow.
is, as of October of 2025, and then I had another set of scans here in January of 2026, no sign of cancer, cancer free, and just praising God for that.
Yay. Yay.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, and now, but well, even before you had this, weren't you um, working with patients that were going through this?
Yeah.
You've been an inspiration for people for a long time, even before you had to deal with it. And no wonder you're known as an inspirational speaker, and why people would want you to come and speak, not only to businesses but other groups as well.
Yeah.
And then the books, they're fantastic. So I can see how much that you've helped people and what you bring to people. Your book weaves faith into the conversation. So let's just chat about that for a second. How has faith shaped how you lead and sell and show up in business?
Well, okay, good question. When all of this happened, I was involved with cancer organizations and I was
Yeah.
supporting friends. Yes, like you said. And that was a blessing. In fact, I even went on a couple live streams and talked about cancer because my dad had lung cancer and how that was to be the son of somebody going through cancer. And then
Yeah.
suddenly, um, actually, I was at an event, and the day I was at the event, I had just found out I was diagnosed with cancer. I was at an event supporting another friend who was going through cancer, and unfortunately, she didn't make it, and that was very sad. But the whole thing was, it suddenly did change the way I looked at things, because even though I was always positive and upbeat, when you have your mortality staring you right in the face, it really
Yeah.
changes the way you look at life. You start thinking, I really need to not just say I need to take advantage of every good thing every day. I've got to do it, because I don't know how long I'll have. I don't know.
Yeah.
And especially when you get to stage 4, they gave me a pretty bleak outlook, honestly, that they could only manage the cancer, and that I should start thinking about palliative. And I'm like, whoa, hang on.
Wow.
And
Wow.
one of my favorite verses is Psalms 18:17 that says, "I shall not die but live and declare what the Lord has done." And I'm declaring that I'm going to live, and I'm going to fight for life. And
Yeah.
so I told my oncologist, well, I have 3 oncologists, 3 different teams. So my treatment oncologist, I told her, all right. So when she told me stage 4, I was already ready. I said, if
Yeah.
this ever happens to me, I know what I'm going to do.
Put up your
Let's fight it.
dukes.
What are we doing? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so,
And
so
Albans here says he remembers when it all started.
yeah, and Albert, thank you. I had so many amazing people like him that really reached out to me. And so what I did is, I felt like God was telling me to start sharing my story to inspire and encourage people. And that's what I started doing. The first post I made on Facebook and LinkedIn had, like, I don't know, 15, 20,000 interactions with the post. It was crazy. And like thousands and
Wow.
thousands of comments, people praying for me for all crazy places around the world. And my goal, really, when I posted, Kim, I would post just a little bit about what was happening to me, very short. And then I would encourage them and tell them, it's okay. I'm good. God's got this. God's not done with me yet. And I'm
Yeah.
moving forward. Right. And that's how I ended every post. God's not done with me yet. I'm
Yeah.
still moving. And so that ended up becoming a two-way relationship of me encouraging people and then them encouraging me. And it was a blessing.
Oh, I love that. It's you've been inspirational through everything, and it's been such a blessing for people that, like I think about, unfortunately, I know a lot of people that have their own businesses, they're entrepreneurs, and, just like you and I, and this is sometimes not the kind of thing that we can manage through easily because we don't have the same type of support. But it sounds like you have built a community around you, and you had tons of people that were there helping you out get through it and sending you notes.
For sure. That was just it. I mean, my intention was not to get a bunch of sympathy for myself or a bunch of help for myself even. But
Yeah,
I can tell you that what has happened through this whole process is miracles as far as my health. Number one, God has worked miracles in my health. I still have a lot of health issues that came
yeah.
through the treatment. Yeah, because like um, when I was diagnosed stage 4, I went through like 5 rounds of treatment, immunotherapy. And so they're infusions. You go in, you sit, you have infusions, and they infuse a drug that works with your immune system to help kill the cancer. Well, unfortunately, it was killing me faster than the cancer was. And in New Year's Eve of 24, oh, yay, New Year's Eve of 24, I landed in the hospital. And
Ugh.
it had shut down my adrenal glands, it had shut down my thyroid, and it already shut down my pancreas. And there was all kinds of things going on. My sodium levels were dangerously low, all this stuff. So I ended up in the hospital for a few days. And when I got out, I met with my oncologist, and they said, well, clearly we're stopping the treatment. But they said, we're just going to have to pray that God does the work from here, that your body heals and continues moving in a positive direction, because it was moving in a positive direction at that point. And so I just prayed and prayed with my family. And it was 10 months later that I got that, the month right after I released my book. In fact, the month after I released my book, that I got the word that there was no sign of disease.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, you have an uncanny way of talking about things and going back to that. What was it? C plus P equals E.
Yep.
Um, you know, even reading your book, hearing about some of the things that you've had to go through. And as you said, everybody has stuff, but the way that you have managed through it, the way you have used it to help other people and inspire is just, it's brilliant. And you've brought it into helping entrepreneurs, teaching them how to build community, how to make connections, which is so, so strong. All those relationships. That's really what marketing is, isn't it?
It is totally. Well, and so I'm a firm believer that the foundation for any good marketing plan is connection and community building.
Yeah.
Because without people, you don't have anything. You can't
Yeah.
market to anybody. And, it's interesting because most people nod and agree, say, yeah, you're right. You need people. You need to connect with people. You need to build community. I agree. Yeah. I
Yeah.
have some people, though. I had one just recently tell me, I don't understand what connection and community building has to do with marketing. And I just kind of shake my head. I'm like, I don't get that. But I told her what I tell everybody. And she goes, oh, you're one of those heart people, she says. And I said, well, I hope I'm a heart person. I hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that means that doesn't make it untrue, So anyway, but the whole point is, as you build real, true connections and community, that's when the magic happens. That's when you're able to sell and do your business. If anybody has not read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, it should be required reading for life. That is one of the
Yeah.
most amazing books that was written years and years and years ago, but it's timeless. And so
Yeah.
that book is about that thing exactly. It is all
Yeah.
about that. And so, yeah, I mean, just so amazing. So that concept to me, and then once you build community, then you have to have purpose in what you're doing, right? Well, I mean, you really need to have purpose from the beginning, but besides building community and connecting, you have to have purpose. You really have to have passion about what you're doing. And then you need to keep a good perspective. And that's what my book's all about. Because otherwise, you're going to go through the ups and downs of business and life, and you're just going to be, all the
Yeah,
time
yeah.
blown out.
And Catherine says it's all about relationships. Nothing worth doing, worth being, or worth having is all rooted in relationships. So, so true. So true. Thanks for sharing, Catherine. This I find it uncanny that so many business owners, they hear marketing and they hear sales and they think that it has to be difficult. And if anybody can simplify it, really, Russ, that's exactly what you've done. Is you've simplified it for people. It's conversations, it's relationships, it's really about people. And I always say that too. I always say we don't do B2B, we don't do B2C, we do H to H. We do human to human connection. And that's what we're all looking for, even more so these days.
Yeah.
And I really think you are bang on with what you do. And thank you for simplifying it. So
Can I say one thing about that real quick? I would also
yeah.
call H to H hug to hug. So I'm a hugger.
Oh,
And so,
yeah.
yeah. And so, that's one thing that really, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're really a hugger or not, and whether you really hug people or not. But, human touch means a lot just of caring and personal and connection, right? And so I've just always been a hugger, and I hug pretty much everybody. But that's
Yeah.
just the way that I am. The guys, the gals, whatever, but I'm just a human. That human to human connection comes through that as well, not just communication, but really action. And it doesn't just have to be hugs. It has to also be caring for those people, showing and listening to those people, not just
Yeah.
making it all about you. And that is why I end a lot of my things. Cause as you could tell, Kim, I'm a talker, but I always end those things asking people, let me know what I can pray for. How can I help you? How can I inspire you? Right? Because I want to hear from them.
Yeah, I love that. And your personality is infectious. I love chatting with you. I love spending time with you. Thank you for being part of the best part of my week, which is actually doing these conversations or having these conversations. But how could people have a conversation with you? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Oh, yeah. I would love for people, if we're not connected, please, please, please get in touch with me. You go to russhedge.com. That is my one-stop shop for connection, and it's got all my information in there. So if you would go there to russhedge.com, I would love it. And you can connect with me anyway, social media, my email, my phone number. You can even you can schedule time directly on my calendar to Zoom with me. I'd love for you to do that. And I just love to connect with people. So please reach out to me today. And anything you want to know about me, my cancer journey, there's a whole tab and information on my website about that. There's
And
information
your book
about,
is available from that website too. You can
yeah,
access the book through, pardon me, the book
exactly.
through there.
Yep. You get my books. You can hire me to speak. There's
Yeah,
all kinds of things. Everything about me, you can do on that website. Yep.
that's amazing. So get in touch with Russ. Have a conversation. Book some time with him. Go to www.russhedge.com. Get his book. It's so inspiring. And just, you know what? Start to think about your business as you know what? You just need to start building those relationships and make marketing and sales simpler. Don't complicate it. Don't overcomplicate it. So, thank you
Yeah, for
so
sure.
much, Rush. I loved having you. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom and your story with everybody. This has been fantastic.
Well, you are a blessing. And I would like to leave with Kim is exactly right, everybody. Don't overcomplicate things. It's not as difficult as it seems. You just have to take one step at a time. If you need help, reach out to me, get my book, or reach out to Kim. She's amazing too. She'll get you going in the right direction. So thank you very much for having me on.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. And I want to know that Russ is having lots of conversations with you. We'll talk to you next time in the Scene Live. Bye for now.